Welcome to Yin and Young. The following is a story taken from Chapter 3. I have called it Pecking Order. I hope you enjoy it. When not at the house or with his mother, Bobby was at his Grampa and Gramma's farm, usually wandering through the fields in his cowboy boots, playing with dirt or sticks. After playing, he came in to have his hands washed. His grandma set the table with a white cloth, dishes full of fresh garden vegetables, pickled cucumbers and beets, and potatoes and gravy to eat with his roast beef. In the mornings it was soft-boiled eggs. Sometimes Grandpa would cut the egg in half and set it in a little holder like a cup, where Bobby dipped his toast in the yolk. Other times they would put the egg on his plate, and with a fork they smushed it up with butter, salt, and pepper. Bobby placed the egg mix onto his toast, and ate it with lumps of spillage falling back onto the plate. Always there was the smell of coffee. One morning, as Grandpa went out the door, Grandma said that after she did the dishes, they would go for a short drive to another property they had. "Isn't Mummy coming?" "Yes, she's coming, dear, but not until later today. You just stay with Grandpa and Gramma." After gathering their things and loading up into the Ford, they rounded the car out of the yard and onto the road, traveling only about 10 minutes through a somewhat hilly mix of trees and grassland, where they soon slowed and turned into a lot with an old spread-out shack that looked weathered and black. The grass grew unevenly, and there was a lot of mud as well. Behind the shack was a downward-sloping hill, populated with a dispersion of tamaracks and lumps of wintered grass, freshly liberated from the melted snow. The grass had mostly dried, and fresh greenery was showing through the straw. Bobby climbed out of the car, and as soon as he shut the door, he stopped suddenly, encountering a rooster. The rooster stared at Bobby. Bobby stood and stared at the rooster. As his Grandpa and Gramma headed to the old shack, Bobby moved to follow them by keeping close to the front of the car. That was when the rooster jumped up at Bobby, and with a screeching noise, Bobby was overwhelmed by feathers and flapping as if an angry wind were attacking his face. It scared him a great deal, and he started crying. Grandpa came and shooed the rooster away, but Bobby wanted to go back in the car. "It's okay, Bobby. You just stay away from that mean old rooster. He won't bother you if you just stay over here." Bobby was now on the other side of the car, where the chickens walked about pecking at the soil, their heads bobbing up and down or cocked to the side as they walked in their hesitating way, holding one foot in the air to pause and consider moving forward. "You can come over this way and play here. The chickens won't bother you." Bobby thought better of it and leaned up against the car, watchful of the chickens while his Grandpa and Gramma puttered in and around the shack. Sometimes one chicken would peck at another one and chase it, but mostly they just bobbed about in gentle lurches, scratching and picking along the ground with happy clucks and coos. Bobby soon relaxed and began exploring. As he did so, a number of curious chickens followed Bobby while he sauntered around the yard. From the corner of his vision, Bobby observed his Grandpa pick up one of the birds. He handled the chicken quite roughly, holding it by its legs, upside down as its wings flapped furiously about. Then, flopping the bird onto an old tree stump, whomp! An axe dropped and removed the chicken's body from its head. Grandpa swiped the head onto the ground with the blade of the axe, and threw the chicken's body back onto the black earth, where it somehow landed on its feet and ran in a circle, flapping its wings until falling. Its legs continued twitching. As Bobby watched the body of the chicken running, a sickness entered his stomach. Bobby pitied the bird. It was as if the chicken's body used its last bit of pulsing blood to protest the desecration of its dignity by the removal of its head. It lost its voice. It could no longer squawk, But the chicken could at least flee. It could run and flap its wings. Every bit of its power was used to escape the axe which had already fallen, and the hapless, headless chicken lost all hope. Bobby's grandpa grabbed another chicken and dispatched it just as rapidly and with similar flurries of protest. Soon the muddy yard was filled with chicken bodies spread across the earth, some twitching, others with legs sticking out into the air. Grandma helped chase the remaining chickens into Grandpa's arms and asked Bobby to help. Were the remaining chickens' eyes wider? Bobby felt weak in his legs and had trouble moving. Grandpa, noticing Bobby's distress, said to him, "Just a few more, kiddo." Once the yard grew quieter, Bobby noticed the rooster was nowhere to be seen. "Where's the other bird?" Bobby asked. "You mean the rooster?" "Well, he probably thought it was safer to disappear," Grandpa replied, smiling casually and tossing a wink to Bobby as he washed the axe head off under a pump. He went in to help Grandma. As he boiled the chickens and pulled off their feathers, Grandma cut them open, pulling out the insides. Bobby moved cautiously in the direction of the butchering table. "Why do you need to take it out?" asked Bobby, as Grandma disemboweled one chicken after another. "Oh, you can't cook it like that. It's too dirty." Bobby spotted some green-brown slime on the metal table, and Grandma explained that this was what the chickens had eaten. It came out of their stomachs. "We need to take all of this out before we can cook the chicken," Grandma said. The scene distressed Bobby further, and as Grandma said, "Why don't you go out back? You don't need to watch this. We'll come get you in a little while." Bobby agreed and went to the back side, always watchful for the rooster, but gaining confidence that the rooster wanted to remain invisible.